Evening, everyone. This is the Town of Columbia Financial Planning and Allocation Commission regular meeting for Wednesday, July 19th at 7 p.m. And just to start with the rules of conduct, because there's a hybrid virtual meeting, web-based. We're operating under the following procedures. This session will be both video and audio recorded. Commissioners and staff will generally remain on mute, except when speaking or voting, and will generally keep the video on themselves throughout the meeting. That was place here, so that doesn't happen. If a member of the public creates an audio or visual disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendation of staff or chair. Public input before the meeting. Email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.org within 24 hours before the meeting, and we did not receive any.
Thank you, Mark. Let's come to order. Start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Audience. There's some nothing in
That's correct. Nobody participating and no chat.
Okay, minutes on May 9. This is when I wasn't there, so I think do it even again.
So Jeff, Kelly, Art, Richard, and Judy.
Move acceptance of the minutes of the June 9 meeting.
Yeah, that's right after the budget.
May 9.
Oh,
May 9.
May 9, sorry, May 9 meeting. A second.
Oh, we haven't, I'm still here. With a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Anything in the correspondence that caught anybody's attention or that they would like to discuss, Chair? Yeah. No, there's something in there about one of the board of selectmen minutes about a grant.
Yeah, that was another thing I was thinking. What was the thing about the grant?
Something to do with fire department equipment.
They received a $250,000 grant from the state for equipment or vehicles.
Okay.
There's only one
That
grant.
was unanticipated in the budget process.
Well, it was correct. It was a request from Senator Austin a year ago. If I can get you any money, what would you want? So there was a wish list out there, but it was equipment we had not funded.
We had not started to fund.
Correct, because if they got the grant, it would change how they did the forestry vehicle. So they're now rethinking how they're gonna come back with their,
Isn't that going directly to the fire department?
Yes.
To the town.
it's not,
Fire department.
the check goes to the fire department. So we had a meeting, Stephen and I, and the new chief, which is Scott Haddad, and outgoing chief, Stephen Stemsky, and we went over all the vehicles and they're kicking tires and come back with what their plan is for going.
Right, but because they're getting that money, they'll get $250 from us. Right,
No, they're going to,
not in this year's budget.
Right.
But future years.
right, they won't need to ask for 250,000 in upgrading some vehicles. They'll be able to do it with
It
it.
all depends if they're gonna buy an ambulance.
They, in that meeting, decided the ambulance is good with their funding and they're just gonna stay out of it. They're gonna keep their money in the fire lines.
Awesome.
Because the ambulance self-funds their own equipment,
Right,
with their
okay.
bill. But you're correct.
I thought it was interesting that we got the 98% rate that we thought we were gonna get for the taxes. It was spot on.
Actually, I think it's up at 99.
Yeah.
It's 99.
Oh, that was 98 when the minutes came out.
Oh, okay, correct.
I did wanna, are we still on questions?
Are we still on correspondence?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question about correspondence. In the correspondence is the legislative update. Mark, can you give us a thumbnail sketch if there's anything that's gonna impact
Yes,
finance
so
for us?
one thing that could help us, because we tend to have, we're going to court on two blight issues, one on Route 87 by the Lebanon Town Line, right by the airline trail.
Yeah,
Just Part of the vehicles all along the trail.
yeah.
It's the last house before Lebanon,
Yeah.
going to A7.
Ah, yes.
And then on Route 1, we have a hoarding area where it's been that way for 30 years. Used to be a garage.
Route what?
Route 1.
Six.
Oh, six.
Route one.
That's my old stopping. point. So, Route 6, and it got to the point where it became a used car lot. And so both places have blighted structures that are in danger, that need to come down. Fire marshals have cited them on that. The building officials cited them on that. And, we're now in, they've both been served.
What's the bottom line in terms of our power to act?
I think the key is this legislation, PA 23, is going to expand options for penalizing people who create blight unsafe conditions. So you might be able to expedite it long before you have to go to court. If you can.
But right now, we're
We're,
begging.
no, we're gonna have a court action to force it to be. Because they won't voluntarily do it. And then, local capital issuance of local capital improvement project grants, eliminating certain applicant and approval requirements concerning issuance of local capital improvement project. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Local?
That's what we know. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's something about eliminating application approval requirements, so maybe you don't have to pre-approve,
So
go through that process.
local has the way to do it. You can send in like an approval request with the reimbursements, or you send it ahead of time and have approved the project. But it has to be a capital project, so they must be getting rid of the one step
To simplify it.
to simplify it, so it streamlines a little better, like you just submit what you have and then they'll approve it instead of approving the project first. So that's probably what that is.
And then, they're clarifying requirements of existing zoning enforcement officers to be certified, so we gotta figure out, because we were under the impression that ours was grandfathered, so we have to find out if that's changed. But our planner is a certified CEO, so he can step in when needed. So we have issues that could affect us. Allowing the LoSiP fund utilization for removal of hazardous dead trees, so that just changed. We can
Oh, yeah,
use LoSiP for dead trees.
yeah, I saw that last year.
And I don't know what this means yet. Establish a methodology for meeting certain requirements for each municipality's fair share allocation. They're going to assess affordable housing needs of the state planning regions, fairly allocate portions of this need to each region, and municipalities will require each chamber and general assembly to approve this methodology. I don't know if they're gonna be saying, all right, Columbia, you need X amount of affordable housing. Do it.
What would that mean?
Mean that we would have to allocate a certain percentage or certain properties to that purpose.
It might mean you'll have to reduce the minimum requirement acreage
Or
or
whatever it
a
is.
house or.
We have to change your zone to allow multifamily use.
Right.
If you want their money.
No, I
Well,
think to do it.
no, it's not like it. I don't know.
Based on what I remember reading, it
It
sounded
hasn't
like
taken out,
it sounded like you guys didn't cover what, it doesn't sound like there's a.
but this is a good news. They're transferring from deep to the Department of Public Health, the regulatory authority over small community sewage systems and households and small commercial subsurface sewage disposal system. Because deep, you can't get a approval for deep, it takes years. So maybe DPH might be better, I don't know. And establishing very local financial incentives for individual and business to invest and develop rental units and set aside designated workforce population under these programs. So, I don't know, that's all coming. I'll be going to CCM and COG meetings to get details.
So, do you know if the change in the law that increased the tax base from 70% to 75%?
I didn't hear that passed.
They're studying it another year.
So it didn't pass, okay.
It did pass in this section.
Yeah, there's a study about be eliminated about the motor vehicle tax, but it's really just. Okay.
That's all I have. Done? Any questions? Okay.
Long minutes.
Moving on. Update on American Relief Fund. Projects.
Yeah, so there's a spreadsheet kind of showing all the projects and where we have what's completed, what's still in process, what's started, what's not started. So right now, there's, based on all the projects that are still open, there's 71,000 that's kind of pending on whether they're gonna use it or not use it, start the project. But in all, right now, we have $25,451 definitely left of American Relief Funds. They have to be obligated by the end of 2024.
Obligated.
Purchase order committed.
Committed, not spent, and it has to be spent by end of 2026. So that number could go up depending on how we complete the other projects. I know there's a couple that, there's a couple small ones that are pretty much being finished, which would be the masonry. On the history place, there's probably about $400 left. We're still trying to find out about the command vehicle. And there might be one more purchase on the rec park courts. So that money may go back so that add to the balance that we still have available. So
25 will go up.
so it's probably gonna go up. We're just waiting on these other projects. Well, the Works building is in process, not sure when that's gonna be, hopefully in the next couple of months. The senior center sidewalks and things are quoting, and we're still working on, what we're doing at the Murphy House with the bathroom upgrades and stuff. And the generator at the senior center is still in process. We're trying to find out when the generator's coming. It's been, we believe, ordered, but we just not sure when it's coming, so they can finish it. So we definitely have at least 25,000. If there's something else comes up that we wanna put in as another project, we can.
Oh, we have time.
We do have time. It's not like a huge rush yet.
It's like the retired finance chairman's car.
Okay.
Thank you for all your
A token
years.
of our appreciation for your
For all your years
service.
of service.
You know, it hasn't left yet. Have to change.
Never don't buy a car. Rent a limo with a wet bar.
Go for
One weekend. Thank you, Ben.
it. Okay.
Repeat, HVAC.
Perfect. Feedback.
So we have a meeting tomorrow at 3 with the design firm that we've chosen. This is the contract. We're gonna go over it one last time. And this firm was not, it was in the middle. It was a less expensive firm and a more expensive firm. But this was the firm that could meet all the dates required so we could apply for the grant within the August to December timeframe we're anticipating. And they were the most, they had a very, I mean, they hit every question, hit everything we wanted. So it's a full service, it's similar to Petroselli. We've used them on 2 other projects at the school. One that, when we got rid of that, those recording stairs coming down the auditorium, they made a storage area up there, and they also did the new roof on the school. And I checked all the referrals and they all came back great. They've gotten many of the grants they've applied for in the state for HVAC already.
How much?
A mere 404,000. With another 10,000 added for another scope, so about 414,000.
Just the report is gonna cost us.
No, it's engineering. It's full, everything. It's figuring out, looking at what we have, doing all the analysis of the exterior, the water, the ground, everything. So where we are now, what we need, a proposal to solve everything, writing the specs, the bid specs, analyzing the bids when they come back in, recommending who we should go with, helping us also monitor the entire construction projects through the whole period of time. So they sit in on construction meetings, monitor that we're using the right wages and, they would handle everything. And the scope of their proposal came back. It's extensive as to how involved will be, so the project will be successful.
What did we budget, was it 425?
We have 500,000 from the general fund that we've allocated towards the project. Well, 490.
Wait for you to say that.
I had rounded up,
Went wrong.
but can't round up, and then it would.
Oh, maybe,
So I'll know more tomorrow at 3.
that it,
Yes, sir.
new business. Now you're gonna beat us to death, the numbers.
Yeah, so I did a projection as of last week. The numbers have already changed, because the bills have come in and stuff. So right now, we're looking, without making my changes, we're looking at a fund balance of, or undesignated fund balance of 2.977, which is about 15% of the 23-24 requirements. So, which I think is what the goal that everybody wanted to be about 15%. Right now, the Board of Selectmen general fund expenditures is coming in at a surplus of about 520. The school as a last was 122, and the revenues were at $640,000. Those numbers will change. There are some year-end adjustments, there's some bills that have come in, and were not anticipated, so. So the numbers will be fluctuating for the next, plus we have to wait for the audit. Just a reminder, this year we did have some general fund transfers that totaled $689,000, plus the 1.3 million we took out to keep the bill rate down, so basically took, almost $2 million out of the fund balance this year, but we're gonna get possibly up to $1 million back, so we're still in a good financial position as far as I can see. But yeah, so right now we're working on getting everything set up and going, haven't set the audit date yet, but that won't probably be October. So that's when they usually come in, so, that's pretty much it for now. Any questions?
Yeah. I have 2 sheets of paper that clearly read this name already.
It's staying, yeah, I didn't make any changes from that. You have 2 pieces of paper. Oh, yeah, there's 2 in there. Biggest point. Oh, did I? Yeah. There's 2 American League funds and there's 2 fund balances. That's okay.
That's where that dollar was.
They wanted to make sure you really. Which one?
Like that.
This one?
Yeah.
Did I give it that?
I don't know what happened.
I don't think so.
You're
No, I got a big, oh, here's another package, I have it.
Here for couple.
Okay, that. Okay, so bottom line, again, I still mentioning, just reporting fiscal policy, the fund balance reconciliation, we think that will do. So it summarizes how we got to the fund balance. What we were thinking at our budget time was different. And that's what we just got to what we thought, what we now think. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, ma'am. Over on the side, it says projected variances and differences. What are these numbers?
So the projected variance is what was in the budget document.
Okay,
So we're showing that the difference is additional surpluses that were not projected.
oh, so you projected when we did our budget 109, but the surplus is actually
Yeah.
410 greater than that.
Yeah.
And you projected 0 for the.
We thought they were coming in pretty much even, but there were some changes at the year end, there was some, There was that all that came in.
Tuition,
Some of it is tuition, there was, turnover they didn't replace, there was some unpaid leave, so. It all just started tallying up, but I said right now it's not 122, I think it's less now. So I'm just waiting for the rest, but yeah, definitely between all those, you do have to look.
But there is no, go ahead.
sorry, does that represent 100% of the excess tuition? No. So they're not giving us back all the tuition?
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
We have to talk about that because unless you want to go to town meeting for that. If you don't let them balance out the budget using tuition funds, then you will have to go to a town meeting to allocate funds to the Board of Ed to cover the deficit. Otherwise, they won't have enough money.
Okay, well, let's back up a little. As of 2 months ago, maybe a month ago, they were thinking they, in the year with the deficit, and have to maybe hit the
Undesignated fund balance, yes.
The emergency.
that emergency fund.
And then that's the account, yeah.
Non-lapsing account, they thought they might have asked FiPAC for permission to take some money from the non-lapsing account. Now they're sitting at about 120,
It's about 100,000.
100,000 positive, so they won't be coming for money from the non-lapsing account,
Mhm.
which is good news. Back to Kelly's point, yeah, I don't have those numbers in front of me, but I guess I won't say it follows me, but what I observed, is you might remember back in the December joint meeting that I brought up, I think it was a December joint meeting, yeah, it was, brought up the fact that there was the tuition agreement, and we had a lot of the members who weren't aware of it, but the way it worked, if they needed to dip into that as a courtesy that you come, you would expect they come talk to FiPAC. And all we said was it's a courtesy. We never said we will hold your feet to the fire. We just said, this is an effect, and if you need to dip it, at least come talk to us. I think you're getting to the realization that that did not happen. So I think that where we are is at the current, again, that tuition agreement was put into effect at the request of the then Board of Education. They said we want to be judged based on how we operate for, and then also tuition, fluctuating attendance at high schools and fluctuating needs for special ed. We don't want to be judged on that. We don't want to punish for the kids if we have to spend a lot of extra money on special ed. So we said, okay, let's do it on behalf of, I guess, on behalf of the Board of Selectmen, because they would be the ones on the hook for calling a town meeting if there were a need to dip into fund, undesignated fund balance. So we had that agreement. It is not enforceable. I think we recognize that from the start. It's not illegal to have an understanding of the way you're going to operate, but we don't have the legal right to demand that we return any money. We're still judged by the 10-2, whatever it is. And once they get the money, they have the right to spend it. From my standpoint, what that says to FiPAC is that, I'm defending a little bit. I think what has happened is that once we formed that agreement, we got a little more lax about challenging the budget for tuition and looking real closely at how it was set, because it really didn't matter. If somebody padded it too much, the money would automatically come back. So we started looking real closely. Now that we seem to be in a different world where we're not automatically going to get any excess tuition back, I think maybe, and I won't be here, so you guys get to be the meetings. I think what we need to do maybe is revert back to the type of review we used to do, where we had nice grids of by school, by grade, and here's the tuition rate, and this is what we anticipate. What that would help do is at the end of the year, if there was a variance, then Art was saying, well, you budgeted 200 people at E.L. Smith, and there were only 120. Something's wrong here, so that's the budget. I'll know what to think and what to challenge. So we have a more rigorous review process, and if we're not gonna have that agreement, I would suggest you guys think about whether you want to go back to that sort of detail, the detail I need to track it.
I agree.
The other thing, and it's always it was a touchy subject because you have to be real careful. A lot of this tuition is impacted by outplacement numbers and there are privacy considerations that you really can't violate. And you will try to touch that to get into the arguments and we can't get information because privacy. What we have said on the one point was, well, we don't want anybody's name, but I think for a couple of years, we had them identify or assign letters, student A, student B, student C, student D. This is what I expect for tuition, this is what I expect for transportation. So again, you have detail without having the personal information that would violate all kinds of laws. Anyway, that same detail could be used at the end of the year, well, you're off by 700,000, what happened was it student A or B or C or D, again, you would have to know. And you know that, well, maybe something a little legitimate did happen to change your expectations for, or the actuals for student A to be different than the expectation. But then you have a discussion as to whether or not that's a permanent change or not. Anyway, I'm not battling on that, but again, I think we need to revert to a more strenuous.
I was a little bit, during the budget process, there was at least a $500,000 drop in the tuition line from the prior year. So I think they recognized that they were overdoing the budget, that line. And then they found, a way to spend that 500,000 in other parts of the budget. So it felt a little bit like there was some gamesmanship there, knowing that we might be more diligent in reviewing the tuition numbers in the future.
Yeah. Just my suggestion again, I've been in a different world and now I think if the interaction has changed, then that needs to be.
Yeah, if the agreement doesn't stand, it doesn't stand.
And we don't need to challenge again, I think the silence sends the message. And we're not in a position to demand anything, nor do we have a need to demand anything. We just go with the signal that we get sent and says if it's the way we want to operate and do it. Anything else?
Thank you.
Anything else about it? Where are we? This is the meeting where I'm using my then. Okay. Got the numbers for the shape the audit. Have we heard from them?
No, that's not my to do.
Okay. Beat them up, I mean, I like them, I think they had good results, but again, 100 years ago, we haven't, I forget the other things at that time. We sort of got comfortable asking for extensions, and I don't want us to fall into that again, so. Make sure they're legitimate, they have legitimate reasons or legitimate expectations to deliver all the time, reasonably. So you can be the nasty on that. Okay, transfers.
One just procedural question. When do you think we will be done with the July budget so that because I think we were gonna have a
July budget?
the year-end stuff. So we'll know exactly what it's done.
Not to the fall.
Okay, so in that time, will you be able to give us a final number for what the Board of Education budgeted for last year and what they actually spent and how much they transferred, that 3-column list that we talked about? So it's where you show, because what they do is they just true up the numbers, they take what they budgeted and they
Are you
take the
talking about
budgeted
the year-end transfers? Probably won't be till September, because what I have to do in the next month is file the annual, I call it the monthly report, it's the EFS report, which is compilation of all the Board of Ed expenditures, and that's due by September 1st. So that's my priority before I finalize all the numbers, because I'd rather not pay a $10,000 fine.
I definitely, we only need it by the end of the year, I think, so as we go into the next budget year, we just wanna see what the actual, you know, what they spent, what they budgeted, where they did internal transfer. Because usually, it used to be what we would get is the trued up numbers, the budgeted numbers were changed, right?
Yeah, so last year you did get the transfer,
Yeah.
so once those will probably be submitted hopefully in September, once the Board of Ed approves them, then they can distribute it to everybody.
All right, thank you.
But the Board of Ed expenditure report that shows what, a projection of 120,
Right now,
I know it's changing, changing.
Yeah.
Would you mind sending that to all the FiPAC members, that will be current status of the Board of Ed?
when, the transfers are,
No, the one that's already completed. The Board of Ed, that's Board of Ed expenditure report. I
Oh,
can
sure.
send it out one at the,
Yep.
fiscal policy meeting.
sure,
Okay, transfers. Unless Kelly's gonna butt in again.
No, I'm good.
Okay,
do you want me to go in detail with it, or you want me to?
what,
There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
what do we have?
There's 13 transfers totaling $46,190.
And first page is the summary, I think.
Yep, that's the summary. I mean, basically, I went through all the lines that have a deficit, and basically did transfers to, get through. So I went through basically each department to do all the transfers. So in the administration side, between unemployment, fuel and commercial insurance, and that had to do with the last one was definitely the cyber insurance policy. We ended up with a deficit overall over $7,300, so I just took from the group insurance because there was definitely money left over in that line. The next one, it was lake management services, which is marine patrol and gate monitoring. With the new changeovers, direct department and trying to upgrade the services in marine patrol and making sure they have what they need and repairs to the boat. And, getting an AED machine. That department came under budget over budget by $3,866. It was total nothing we could anticipate, so I'm taking that from contingency. There's plenty of that. In the planning and zoning, with the changeover to now a contracted service, that person overseeing the planning and zoning. I'm using contingency.
Whoa.
Oh,
Construct plan.
No, it's got nothing to do with any. You're not going in the order of this on the summary page, and I'm not going in the order of them. Or are you?
This one's legal notice is what we're gonna be on.
I'm on the third one,
Which is,
048 to 2023-048.
okay,
So that one is planning and zoning. So there were some additional above budget legal notices that were issued. And then for professional tech, they were using, I think, our town engineers to scope out some of the projects. I think one was
Yes.
the wedding venue and some property issues, property line issues or something. So that went over budget. So that department went over by $2,110, so it wasn't anticipated, so I used contingency to cover that. Then the next one, 2023-049, that is basically in the building inspection facility maintenance. Again, they went over budget on gasoline, so that has to do with the pricing that we're at and budgeted. And the other one was for the professional tech line, just with repairs, and there was more than anticipated, mostly at the end of the year. Part of it has to do with the some of it might have been the repairs, but then it was like the boathouse architect, which we could send that money with the insurance company. That's pretty much it, because we had the boathouse get destroyed, so we needed to get moving on it, so we had to hire architects, so that line went over basically for that, on that one. And the next one, that'd be transfer number 51, it was beach services. The postage go over budget due to the annual mailer, postage went up, they anticipate that. They bought a lot of supplies, again, to get the beach set up for the season between. They did some gardening, they bought new uniforms and thus they went over, and then again, the boat needed repairs, so that, plus they also bought new swimming ropes. For all the beach areas in Redoni Road, and then at the lake here. The ropes were in bad shape, so they had to get new ones done. Yeah, it's not the boat, it's the swimming ropes. So the total of that department went over by 1,397. So unfortunately, their salary line had plenty left over because last year there was plenty of rainy days, and they saved money on salaries, so I just transferred from there. And number 62, it was the rec department. I actually took the funds from beach services because they have plenty in their salary line. But they had some advertisements over $1, so we need to cover that. But they also bought, for new supplies and put on some additional programs and stuff, so they needed some funding for that. So that total came to $1,801. The next one, number 58, it was for the elderly transportation services. Their telephone line went over by $111, and again, general supplies, just year-end purchases. For the senior center, there was a change in the additional phone reimbursements were given, plus the supplies were just year-end purchases to get them through the year. It just bought more, so that was $1,021, but that came out of the electricity line. So they had plenty left over in there. Public Works. Their total went over budget up by $6,339. Some of it was just additional repairs, that the Public Works needed, for parks and things, and they also started a project for the ground repairs. I think they needed some fresh stone. So it just brought that line over budget by $6,000. The next transfer, number 60, was for waste disposal. They need $5,600. So I was able to just transfer within that line. The professional tech went over by those, it's Casella waste. It just turned out there was I think this year was more than anticipated. Bulky waste removal they needed, it just went higher than expected. Not much we could do about that. The next one was number 62, which was again, building inspector, facility maintenance. Again, they have plenty of money in their supply line, so I used $4,160 to cover again some year-end supplies that need to be purchased for project. Their contracted services went over. They think there was like some year-end HVAC servicing. There was like a water treatment of the well at West Park. There was repairs to a generator. That's pretty much all that those repairs. Next one, number 66, was in the administration department. The salary line went over $1,370. I think that had to do with we didn't budget enough for office coverage, so we needed to cover that. So I took it from the group insurance line. Number 68 was lake management. That had to do with salaries for marine patrol and gate monitoring. So with the new staffing, they're trying to get more experienced people. The pay rate was increased to cover that. That wasn't part of the budget. So they needed $1,094, and that we took from contingency. And then the last one is the rec department. They needed $6,310 to cover their salaries in the rec department. I'm taking that for contingency. With the changeover in the rec department, there was some pay adjustment, but also additional help needed with the new transition with the rec director, so that budget line just went over. Any questions?
If I'm doing the math correctly, it looks like 20,000 or so from contingency. Is there a limit on how much we can approve from contingency? I thought there were some limits.
I think contingency, I think it's a lot of budget line item, but contingency, I think would be their individual budget lines, but,
Yeah, I think if you see one line hit for more 10,000, on that for your time meeting. Get the, I'll go grab it, change it. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it's by item.
By item, not.
And we raised all those figures.
What's that?
What's all green trigger snap?
What?
All green trigger snap.
where's
I
that?
don't know.
One of these things that just.
Is that public works or department?
Oh, it's a people thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have been doing this.
I know. Read it every weekend.
Well, those limits defined maybe back or 5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm looking at that taxation.
We told that.
You should show the tax book, rate of taxes, budget meeting, public hearing.
So I think I can take it from, I can change one of them from the insurance line, you probably change it. See what it does.
Was there at one time a $5,000 limit on contingency things we could do? We probably would have gotten away with it in the last. Quarter.
Maximum transfer to the subrecipient appropriation fiscal year will not exceed $20,000.
Say that again.
It's the end of 31, beginning of 30.
I got it.
I don't know if this is the right one. That
Transfer for any one such recipient or appropriation item shall not exceed 20,000.
Where are you?
That's for 20,000
on top of 33.
transfer funds.
Okay, this is the one I'm looking at.
Maximum 20,000 per year, not to the work by the agency, but making transfers within the approval of, or if I've been in 5.
Maximum
Agency, that would be the part.
One item.
20,000 for the department. For a department,
Oh, per
I
department.
think it's per department.
So the board.
So we
said
don't
with the
know.
approval of FiPAC.
Actually, there's two things here. I think,
So there's no limit on contingency.
yeah, I think there is, but I think it's 10,000 per item. And 20,000 for an agency total for the year,
Okay.
or that's the way I read that.
Including the board.
And 10,000 with the approval of board president and
So
FiPAC.
FiPAC can approve up to 10,000.
FiPAC is a maximum 10,000.
That was my question. I think that used to be
Right.
5. We have-
We updated that.
Yeah, so per line item.
Yeah.
Right, okay, so
And then-
none of these are above 10.
And you track it for the year.
10,000, it says here, each transfer shall be limited to a maximum of 1,000 without approval of FiPAC. And so it's each transfer, 10,000 needs the approval of board second and FiPAC.
Yes, and six, this is six, we can do.
20,000.
Or 20,000 max per department.
Right, so presumably there weren't.
Yeah, everything here is.
Everything's added up to 20.
Right, but I mean, there weren't previously to whatever the Department 69 is, they didn't have 14,000
No.
more earlier in the year.
No.
We would have tracked that. So
What total did you get to?
it was 14.
Wait a minute.
You know, just look at the very last line item. If we had last month, we had given them 14,000, we would be over this one, but that tracks that, she was not.
No, I'm going back to your initial sum of 20,000 coming out of contingency, I only got about 13 or 14.
All right, so I have no other questions.
Is there a motion or a notion or a meaning or?
Move.
If the people is presented, I assume you.
Yes.
Okay. I'll say-
There was a lot of energy in that.
Great, well, I'll second Mark's motion to approve all items as presented.
Second, any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstention. Okay, now I'll go back to something I should have done at the beginning of the meeting. Anybody get from Dick? Is he okay?
Yeah, Dick called me and said this wasn't.
Yeah, I was having that health problems. Course, we wish him the best. With everybody. And that having been said, anything else on anybody's mind? Next meeting, you want to say nothing? Next meeting is when, August, but it might, more than likely will not be needed, is that true, Barry?
I hope not.
I'll be here.
You can,
And then back in September.
well, we're not canceling, but you're just gonna forget about it.
Evaluate.
So
We're gonna evaluate whether we're canceling.
should we start having some people come in September, October, November to talk to us about budgets? Their departments, we tried to do that, I think, one fall, and it was helpful to prepare for,
If you want to do that, I mean,
or we really talk about it after.
we can do that.
I like that.
Or you can always reach me by email or reach.
So we might have some good feedback from the HVAC committee by then.
Good.
I've already reached out to bond council just to get some, they're very excited that we came to them so early, because usually towns come when it's too late to get proper resolutions written. And you're doing things right, so just in case we end up going down that road, I'm start with that.
Yes.
After what Kelly ended that, anybody, anytime wants something on the agenda, feel free to bring it up.
I have a question, if I may.
Of course.
Beth does a nice job getting these out to us several times a year so that we can review the progress on the budget. Is there any place that the Board of Ed's information is available to us?
What do you need?
Well, like, what the budget was, how much they've spent year to date? Maybe,
Yeah, the report I asked her to send you does that. You'll be getting that soon.
yeah, but you get it every
I
3
don't know,
months?
I don't know how often they publish it
Okay.
to ask her.
Okay, so you will be sending it.
The
It
latest,
would be a whole year though.
what you're saying is you'd like to be on the distribution list every time one is produced.
Well, I would like to know if a budget is getting tight before it's
Tight.
before, you know,
Yeah,
you have to go to a town meeting.
Okay,
I know that the stuff gets published in their board packets,
I can't find that info.
should be on the website.
Okay, I'll look again, but I can't find it.
Should be.
I don't know.
I can find the minutes, but I can find the policy, the budget policy, but they don't post
Also, the
details.
subcommittees, they're not gonna post it because it's a subcommittee and they don't, it's just. discussion, you have to
Even
cover.
the regular meetings, I was fishing around too. Some months they only post motions. They don't always post the whole minutes on.
Yeah,
I could talk
you gotta
to
click on that few details and hope you get one that actually has, I've
Sometimes you do.
been able to get that. So
Yeah, we can talk to
I
them.
just,
All about
I would
that.
just like to know. in case-
Well, that expenditure report initially, it was, the agreement was that every time it was produced, it would be shared with FiPAC. If you guys want to go back to that, then we can make that request.
Okay, that would be great. If that's, I don't do anything more than that. then that's great.
Okay, don't let us forget. You have a job. Anything else, or is there a motion with Jeff, and wake up and get us out of here?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, sir. Approved.
You guys
Thank you.
enjoy the summer, until September.
It's 7:50.
7:51.
Oh,
That's what I'm scared of.
Just your backup, Jen.
Thanks.
All of a sudden you go, what is that meeting?
Yeah, sign all
Or
of
you won't be there.
You know what's gonna happen.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Bring us some winners.
Oh, okay.
Boy, my, the birds, I think, I'm sorry, and I was doing really good, and then I got distracted all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, so.
It's not that, it's.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Why I have to pay it for.
Oh, I keep my. Should.
Yeah.
But when the